consumers na patuloy na tumatangkilik sa ating programa.
Sir Adrian, tungkol sa concern ni Ginang Mendoza, ano po ang masasabi natin?
Alam mo, Dens, una sa lahat, ang shampoo ay hindi kasama sa mga itinuturing
ang tunay na pangalan ng mga tao, lugar at organisasyon sa liham na tampok sa palabas na ito ay pinilitan at pinago. Ang anumang pagkakahulugan ng mga bagong pangalan sa aktwal na tao, lugar o organisasyon ay hindi sinasadya at nagkataon lamang.
Magandang araw mga consumer. Sabi nila, biyaya ang bawat taon sa buhay ng tao. Habang tumatanda, mas natututo at mas nagiging matatag tayo sa mga hamon ng buhay. Kasama ng kanilang edad, ang karunungan at kakayahan na nililang ng panahon. Kaya naman, pinapahalagahan ng gobyerno ang mga senior citizen. Bilang pagtanaw sa kanilang kontribusyon, sila ay may mga pribilehiyong itinakda ng batas. Ano nga ba ang mga pribileho para sa kanila? Ngayong araw, babasahin natin ang liham ng consumer na si Ginang Collado para sagutin ang kanyang tanong. Dear Consumer Care, ako po ay isang senior citizen.
Ang tunay na pangalan ng mga tao, lugar at organisasyon sa liham na tampok sa palabas na ito ay pinalitan at pinago. Ang anumang pagkakahuli ng mga bagong pangalan sa aktwal na tao, lugar o organisasyon ay hindi sinasadya at nagkataon lamang.
Magandang araw mga consumer. Sabi nila, biyaya ang bawat taon sa buhay ng tao. Habang tumatanda, mas natututo at mas nagiging matatag tayo sa mga hamon ng buhay. Kasama ng kanilang edad, ang karunungan at kakayahan na nililang ng panahon. Kaya naman, pinapahalagahan ng gobyerno ang mga senior citizen. Bilang pagtanaw sa kanilang kontribusyon, sila ay may mga pribilehiyong itinakda ng batas. Ano nga ba ang mga pribilehiyo para sa kanila? Ngayong araw, babasahin natin ang liham ng consumer na si Ginang Collado para sagutin ang kanyang tanong. Dear Consumer Care, ako po ay isang senior citizen.
Happy Tuesday
Ang tunay na
po to all
pangalan
our
ng mga tao,
participants. Sa
lugar
mga
at
nakatutok po
organisasyon
sa atin
sa liham na tampok sa
and to
palabas na ito
everyone joining
ay
us
pinalitan
live
at
via
pinago.
DTI Consumer
Ang
Care
anumang
Facebook
pagkakahuli
and
ng mga
DTI
bagong
Philippines
pangalan sa
YouTube. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. You can still invite your friends po at mga colleagues natin to join this webinar. Para po sa ating mga bagong participants, ang DTI Consumer Care Webinar Series ay inilunsad ng DTI Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau upang makapagbigay ng kaalaman tungkol sa mga napapanahong topic na nakakatulong sa atin para tayo maging wais, mapanuri at malayang mamimili. Ako po si Faye Tanod-Tanod from the Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. For our 231st webinar session this morning, ang topic po natin ay tungkol sa gender equality and women empowerment programs. Ngayong umaga po, magkakaroon tayo ng usapin para mapalalim pa natin ang pag-uunawa sa kalagahan ng gender equality and women empowerment. Pero bago po tayo magsimula, we would like to give some reminders. Unang-una, ang ating webinar session po ay recorded. By continuing your participation in the meeting, you are also consenting that you will be recorded. We are encouraging you na samahan po kami hanggang matapos at sabay-sabay tayong matuto sa topic natin ngayong umaga. Ang mga sumusunod na reminders ay para masiguro na smooth ang ating webinar session. Una, pakipalitan po ang format ng ating pangalan, maaaring consumer space, full name o di po kaya yung pangalan ng inyong kumpanya, then your complete name. Kung masyadong mahaba naman po ang inyong pangalan or ang pangalan po ng inyong company, ay kahit acronym na lamang po ang ating gamitin. Please turn off po ang ating microphone at video during the webinar session unless you are requested by the moderator to speak. Pangatlo, para sa ating mga tanong, we are encouraging everyone to click the raise hand button to directly address the speaker during the question and answer portion. Or you may send in your questions through the chat box. At panghuli, para po sa mga naka-touchscreen device, please avoid drawing or making annotations on the screen para hindi po ma-distract ang ating speaker at ang ating ibang mga participants. So without further ado, let us begin this webinar session by singing the Philippine National Anthem to be followed by the invocation.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Bayang magiliw, elas na sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa dikit mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisi.
Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing as we are gathered together in this webinar. May your blessings of wisdom and guidance be upon us all through the sharing and impartation of knowledge and skills by our resource speakers, facilitators, and moderators. Bless also the participants so that they would be able to glean the information from this activity and share what we have learned in the spirit of your generosity. Lord, we bring you our prayers, our commitment, our gifts to you this day. Let us who have a keen dedication and awareness of your creation have courage and conviction that we are able to contribute to the sustainability of the earth. Inspire us as we make choices so that we will recognize the impact our lives have on our environment and our human family around the globe. Pour out your blessing upon us today, Lord. May each of our actions reveal our awareness that we are partners with you in the creation and sustainability of this earth that you have given to us to appreciate and enjoy. We ask this in the name of your Son. Amen.
Good morning po ulit sa ating 96 participants. As mentioned earlier, before we proceed po sa ating session, we would like to invite our participants to subscribe to our DTI 1384 SMS upang makatanggap ng important reminders at updates mula sa nakalagay po dyan, no? And again, this service is free of charge. Tulad po sa nabanggit natin kanina, ang topic po nating umaga is about gender equality and women empowerment programs. To formally start our session today, we would like to call the officer in charge of the Consumer Advocacy Division of the Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau, Ms. Vivian O. Alarcado. Good morning, Ma'am Vivian.
Good morning, Faye. And magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Welcome sa ating ika-231st na session ng ating Consumer Care Webinar Series. At tulad po ng nabanggit ni Ms. Faye kanina, ang ating paksa ay tungkol sa Gender Equality and Women Empowerment Program. Ito pong programang ito ay pinamumunuhan po ng Philippine Commission on Women or ang PCW na nag-formulate ng Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Plan for 2019 to 2025. Ito po yung naging basehan natin sa paggawa ng gender and development plans and budget para sa paglipat natin tungo sa pagkakapantay-pantay ng ating kasarian. So ilan po sa mga layunin ng programang ito ay matugunan ang crisis and recovery efforts, maagapan o maiwasan ang pagtalikod sa mga naging achievements tungo sa pagsasama-sama, pagkakapantay-pantay sa kasarian, at pagbibigay ng kapangyarihan sa mga kababaihan. So, mapapakinggan po natin ang mas detalyeng information tungkol sa ating topic mula sa ating inimbitahang resource speaker. So, sa ngalan po ng aming director, si Attorney Marcos Valdez at Attorney Cheryl Carbonell, nais ko pong pasalamatan ng lahat po ng participants. Kasama na po ang ating resource speaker na si Ms. Jeanette Casalme. Siya po yung Gender and Development Specialist ng Philippine Commission on Women. So, hinihikayat ko po ang lahat na makibahagi sa ating session para mas marami po tayong matutunan. Magandang umaga po muli at maraming salamat.
Thank you, Ma'am Bien. So, to echo Ms. Bien's, we are very fortunate to have us this morning our very capable speaker from the Philippine Commission on Women. To introduce her, she is a graduate of travel management at the University of Santo Tomas and currently taking her master in international studies at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. She is currently the Gender and Development Specialist 2 under the Sectoral Coordination Division of the Philippine Commission on Women and the focal for the Women Economic Empowerment Sector. Let's all welcome our speaker for today, Ms. Jeanette B. Casalme. Good morning, Miss Anne, or do you want me to call you Miss Anne?
Yes, good morning, Miss Faye. You can call me
Okay.
Anne para maiksi lang po, no?
Okay,
Magandang
the floor is
umaga
now
po.
yours.
Yes. Okay, let me just share my screen before I begin po. Okay, I hope nakikita po ng lahat ng ating viewers ang aking presentation. Okay. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat and magandang umaga kay Miss Faye and kay Miss Vivian. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for inviting the Philippine Commission on Women to talk about gender equality and the women empowerment programs. So, sisimulan ko na po ang ating presentation. Ayan. I will start telling the story about the Philippine Commission on Women by sharing our her story. So sa amin, we call it the her story. Para po, simulan ko ito sa pag-share ng Bibingka Principle. Baka meron tayong mga viewers dito na familiar sa principle na ito. Ayan. Para mas mapaliwanag ko po ng maayos ang history or purpose PCW when it comes to nation building, specifically po on gender responsive development. So, di ba, ang bibingka kapag niluluto, kailangan po nito ng fire from above and below para makapag-bake tayo ng bibingka. So, tingnan natin dito sa ating screen, sa picture natin. Ang fire na nasa ibabaw, ito po yung mga government offices. So, our government offices are in charge of pushing for gender and development initiatives through policy formulation, program reformulation, yung mga programa po na ini-implement. For example po ni Department of Trade and Industry. Ang ating din po mga government offices ang nag-allocate ng resources, pwedeng human resources, pwede din pong financial. Ayan. Our government offices are also in charge of the institutional reform. And lastly, yung capacity building of our government officials na nag-i-implement and nagpo-formulate ng mga programa at polisiya. So yun po ang fire above the bibingka, no? Sa ilalim naman po, these are our national government organizations. Sila yung nasa grassroots level. They are in charge of the empowerment ng mga grassroots communities. They are in charge of increasing the representation of our grassroots communities. Ayan. And sila din po ang naatasang mag-monitor sa ibang mga national government organizations. They are monitoring the government implementation of the project, specifically on gender and development. Ayan. So tingnan niyo po. So di ba kapag naglalaab ang apoy sa ibabaw at ilalim, meaning kapag nag-work in tandem yung government offices and national government organizations, we will be able to achieve our desired outcome, which is the gender responsive development. So ang tanong naman sa Bibingka Principle, ano naman ang role ni Philippine Commission on Women or PCW? Kami yung tumitingin, tinitingnan namin yung pagluluto nito ng bibingka, no, ng ating government offices and NGOs. So as an oversight, we identify the critical points of intervention. Ayan, tinitingnan namin kung meron pa bang mga gaps, may mga kulang ba sa mga programa or polisiya na ini-implement ang ating mga government offices, and meron po bang kailangan tingnan ang ating mga national government agencies base sa nakikita ng mga NGOs sa ating grassroots level. So we identify those critical points. And then second, we build alliances and support systems. So syempre sa nation building, we have the government offices, we have the national government organizations, meron tayong mga CSOs, mga women's groups. Ayan. So we encourage and gather them to build alliance para mas holistic po ang pag-achieve ng ating desired outcome, which is gender-responsive development. And lastly, as an oversight, we monitor yung mga gender and development efforts ng ating government agencies and local government units. Okay. Ayan. So sana naintindihan natin, no, through the Bibingka Principle kung ano ang role ni PCW. So continuing po, we are the PCW champions gender equality, women's empowerment, and the fulfillment of human rights. So I would like to clear then that the Philippine Commission on Women, we do not implement programs. For example po, yung KMME program ni DTI. We don't implement those kind of programs. What we do, we oversee, minomonitor namin itong mga proyekto na ini-implement, na isinasagawa ng mga government agencies sa ating mga beneficiaries. Tinitingnan namin kung ito ba ay nakakatulong para ma-achieve natin ang karapatan at pangangailangan ng babae at lalaki at ng lahat ng kasarian. So yun po ang role ni Philippine Commission on Women when it comes to policy making and as an oversight agency. Tinitingnan din po namin dito ang gender equality concerns ng mga ating beneficiaries in relation doon sa isang policy, sa isang batas or sa isang programa. Ayan. So balikan lang natin, no, during the 1975 presidency, the Philippine Commission on Women was previously called as the National Commission on the Role of Filipino Women. So this was created by the Presidential Decree number 633, signed by our former President, Ferdinand Marcos. So, ayan. Tingnan po natin kung kailan nabago ang pangalan ni Philippine Commission on Women. From NCRFW, we were renamed as Philippine Commission on Women on August 14, 2009, kasabay po ng pagtupad ng Magna Carta of Women. I hope everyone here sa ating mga viewers ay familiar sa Magna Carta of Women. So ito po, kasabay sa pagpasa ng Magna Carta of Women, ay nag-expand din yung mandato ni Philippine Commission on Women as a primary policy making and coordinating body on women and gender equality concerns. So before, no NCRFW pa, si PCW, before the enactment of the Magna Carta of Women, kami ay mandated to serve as a policy recommendatory body on women's concerns para sa Office of the President lang. With its expanded mandate, nung ipasa na po ang ating Magna Carta of Women, nag-expand din ang mandato ni PCW. That's why PCW is now the policy-making agency of the country's gender equality and women's empowerment concerns. And ayun nga, I would like to reiterate that we are the oversight agency in the implementation of the Magna Carta of Women. Mamaya, malalaman natin kung ano ba ang Magna Carta of Women. And i-reiterate ko lang and emphasize ang Magna Carta of Women is called Magna Carta of. Kasi may mga iba sa atin siguro ay nalilito that we are calling it as Magna Carta for Women. So we would like to emphasize the use of the of, kasi nakakapagbigay po ito ng sense of ownership, especially that this is created based on the concerns of our women. Okay. Ayan. So the mandates of the Philippine Commission on Women. As mentioned, as the national machinery for gender equality and women's empowerment, ang mandato po ni PCW ay tingnan ang mga concerns ng mga kababaihan, be the catalyst for gender mainstreaming sa entire bureaucracy, and advise the President and assist the Cabinet on policies and programs that should be undertaken by the government to achieve gender equality and women's empowerment. So noon po, we are under the Office of the President. But it was in 2017 when we were put under the Department of Interior and Local Government as their attached agency. Ayan. So sabi ko kanina, hindi nag-i-implement ng programs ang Philippine Commission on Women. Yes, totoo po. We don't implement programs down to the beneficiaries of the communities. Ang mga programa po na ginagawa ng PCW ay focus more on the crafting or lobbying of policies, provision of technical assistance. So una, pag-usapan natin ang pag-craft ng Women's Priority Legislative Agenda or WPLA. Ayan. This was a lobby to Congress for inclusion in the priority legislations. Ang WPLA po, it's a set of proposed bills, mga batas, na dinevelop through public consultation. Ibig sabihin, there are other stakeholders that have been consulted in the proposed or crafting of these proposed bills. Ang pinopropose po ng ating WPLA ay to amend or repeal, baguhin yung mga discriminatory provisions ng ating mga existing na batas. And we push for the formulation and adoption of new legislation that would promote, protect, and fulfill women's rights and empowerment. So this WPLA or this legislative agenda is being crafted through nationwide consultations and gender-based analysis processes. Okay. Moving on sa iba pang programa na ini-implement ni PCW. Since nabanggit natin kanina na we serve as an oversight agency para sa mga government offices and local government units in ensuring that the programs and policies, mga plano nila ay akma sa karampatang pagbibigay ng karapatan sa babae at lalaki at sa lahat ng kasarian. So in relation to that, we provide technical assistance and advisory services sa mga agencies and local governments para malaman nila or para makapacitate sila in identifying kung ano yung mga GAD issues, gender and development issues sa kanilang mga batas, sa kanilang mga plano or programa. Ayan. So we undertake continuing advocacy to promote economic, social, and political empowerment of women, and we provide technical assistance in the setting up and strengthening of mechanisms on gender mainstreaming. So for example, DTI is one of our priority agencies for the women's economic empowerment sector. We've formulated a proactive technical assistance plan para sa Department of Trade and Industry and sa mga iba pang ahensya na kasama sa aming mga key implementing agencies upang matulungan po sila na makapag-respond ng maayos sa mga gender issues ng kanilang mga sektor na kinabibilangan. So bukod sa proactive, may mga agencies din po and different organizations that would come to us, request technical assistance from us when it comes to training on gender and development orientation, on how to use gender analysis, on how to formulate their GAD plans and budgets, and their accomplishment reports. So those are the programs po na under the technical assistance strand. Moving on naman po, ayan. So when we oversee the implementation of the gender and development projects and programs of the agencies, ang ginagawa din namin, of course, pinagtitibay po namin ang monitoring and evaluation ng pag-implement ng mga batas ng ating bansa. Especially yung mga ating international commitments on women concerns, such as yung nabanggit po natin kanina, the Magna Carta of Women and the CEDAW, which I will be discussing very briefly later on. Ayan. So we make sure that all government agencies are committed towards the achievement of the country's international commitments on gender equality. Ayan. Malalaman po natin kung ano yung mga international mandates na ini-ensure natin na tayo ay committed doon sa ating sa pag-achieve ng mga concerns or advocacies ng ating bansa. Okay. We also, sa Philippine Commission on Women, we are also mandated by the Magna Carta of Women to develop the Gantimpala. This is an incentives, award, and recognition system granted to agencies na mayroong mga significant achievements in their gender mainstreaming efforts. And nakapag-implement na sila ng mga programs on respond to gender issues, and these are awarded as notable. Ayan. Ang ating namang pong local learning hub, this is through the local GAD resource program of the PCW, which was developed as a certification program para naman sa mga local government units. So si GAD team pala ay for the national government agencies awarding or recognizing their GAD efforts. This local learning hubs is a certification program for local government units na may mga notable GAD efforts din sa kanilang mga kinakasapupan. It aims to institutionalize the sharing and replication of local experiences. So the promotion po ng local learning hubs, kasi maganda na ipapublic po ito kasi may mga local government units na talagang may mga notable programs when it comes to GAD. They have programs on women that directly respond to a specific or several gender issues. And we would want to award this local government units para po ma-replicate, para ma-benchmark to serve as standard ng mga ibang local government units. This is also in line with the Magna Carta of Women, which mandates the government agencies, including ang ating mga local government units, na i-adopt ang gender mainstreaming para isang strategy to promote women's human rights and eliminate gender discrimination sa kanilang mga sistema, sa kanilang mga polisiya and mga programa. Okay. Ayan, another program na isinusulong po ni PCW, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this. Ayan, conduct of public information and advocacy campaigns on PCW's priority issues, such as the National Women's Month. Ayan, so we spearhead the conduct of this public information and advocacy campaigns, starting with the National Women's Month and the 18-day campaign to end violence against women. So ang ating National Women's Month po ay sineselebrate every March, and ang ating 18-day campaign is celebrated every November. Ayan. This National Women's Month po na sineselebrate natin nationwide served as a venue to highlight yung mga achievements na ating mga kababaihan and pag-usapan kung ano man na achieving in women's empowerment. And ano pa ba yung mga issues na kailangan nating bigyan ng pansin? Ayan, ang ating 18-day campaign naman po is a support to our goal of protecting the human rights of women and girls by upholding our commitment to address all forms of gender-based violence as enshrined in the 1987 Constitution. Okay. Moving on sa aming isang program po. Lastly, this is the last program of the PCW. This is called the Gender Responsive Economic Actions for the Transformation, or called Great Women. So we call it Great Women Project. This is a major project that supports women's economic empowerment in the Philippines na funded po ni Global Affairs Canada or ng Government of Canada. It seeks to improve the economic empowerment of our women micro-entrepreneurs and their workers through focusing on the needs and growth of WMEs in the Philippines and enhancing their competitiveness of women-owned businesses and ensure na sustainable ang kanilang pag-grow ng kanilang mga negosyo. So, ito pong ating Great Women Project ay nagsimula noong 2007. And then, it was extended until 2022. And now, it's called the Great Women Project 2. Which is also, this is short for Supporting Women's Economic Empowerment Project in the Philippines, or the Great Women Project 2. So ito pong Great Women Project 2 basically ay pagtuloy lamang sa mga success na nagawa ng Great Women Project 1. It's a project wherein na-integrate na namin ang gender-responsive tool analysis para malaman kung ano yung mga significant factors that would affect yung ating mga micro, small, and medium enterprises, is particularly our women micro-entrepreneurs. It also expanded the economic opportunities of women by strengthening the engagement of WMEs with other partner organizations. Yan. So si PCW po, we embrace the use of ICT in expanding the market access of WMEs. What is notable with this Great Women Project 2 ay na-enhance ang digital skills, digital literacy of our women micro-entrepreneurs. And of course, ito pong project natin ni PCW with the government of Canada is in partnership with the following organizations. So we have the Department of Science and Technology, we have the Department of Agriculture, we have DTI, ECOSI Foundation, the NAPCO Network, Bayan Academy, and ZPMPC. So ito po ay, ang role ni PCW is an implementing agency po ito, but in partnership with this organization. Since may mga programa si DTI, si DOST, si Department of Agriculture na directed towards direct po doon sa ating mga beneficiaries. And I'm sure that building on the success of the Great Women Project, si DTI and the rest of the agencies involved in the project are still continuing or implementing kung ano yung nasimulan ng programa natin. So okay pa po ba tayo? Thumbs up naman tayo dyan sa ating mga participants before we move sa sunod na session ng ating presentation. Okay. Ayan, so kanina binabanggit natin ang gender mainstreaming. Okay. Para sa iba na hindi nakakaalam po or hindi pa aware kung anong ibig sabihin ng gender mainstreaming, no? Simulan po natin with this phrase. This is the God paradigm. For example, the gender development paradigm is translated from theory to practice through gender mainstreaming. So si gender mainstreaming is a process or a strategy, set of processes. Ayan, to better understand, gender mainstreaming is a set of processes and strategies na ang aim ay ma-recognize at ma-address yung mga gender issues pagdating sa paggawa ng batas, pag-implement ng mga batas, ng mga programa, ng mga proyekto, ng iba-ibang institutional mechanisms ng ating gobyerno para maging sustainable po at maging para sa pag-promote ng women's empowerment and pag-achieve ng gender equality. So it's a strategy for making the concerns of men and women, their experiences, we make this an integral part of dimension of the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation ng lahat ng polisiya and programa sa ating government. So hindi lang po ito women's concerns ha, it's a strategy of titingnan natin kung ano yung pagkakaiba ng mga pinagdadaanan ng ating mga kababaihan, ng ating mga kalalakihan at iba-ibang kasarian when it comes to the implementation and formulation of policies. Okay. Ayan. So ano nga po ba yung mainstream? So ang pag ba na-achieve na natin yung gender mainstreaming, tapos na po ba tayo? Na-achieve na ba natin yung gender equality? Nakita na po ba natin yung, na-address na po ba natin yung mga women's concerns, issues of our men and both men and women? So here we reiterate that mainstreaming is not an end. So emphasize natin yung strategy or approach to achieve the goal of gender equality and women's empowerment. It's not, okay na mainstream ko na yan, it's done na. It's not how you say it, but you use the term mainstream as a strategy or your approach para ma-achieve mo yung goal when it comes to gender equality and women's empowerment. Okay. So, minsan, kadalasan, the ideas and practices doon sa ating mainstream is not always positive. It may have patriarchal or undemocratic and discriminatory elements. So, what our aim here is to gender mainstream nga eh. So, ibig sabihin, when we mainstream, titingnan natin kung ano ba yung mga factors na nakakapagpalakas ng patriarchal at discriminatory na practices kapag gumagawa tayo ng batas at gumagawa tayo ng mga programa. Ayan. Speaks the significance kung paano ba natin i-influence yung mainstream. Kasi nandyan po yung mga mekanismo, yung mga resources, yung mga decision ng ating government offices, ng ating mga national government organizations in order to address the gender issues. So kapag ba nag-a-allocate tayo ng resources, gumagawa ang ating gobyerno ng mga different mechanisms and decisions, tapos hindi natin na-consider yung gender issues, na may mga gender biases pala, may pagkakaiba pala ng karanasan ng babae at lalaki. So kapag hindi po yun na-consider, ibig sabihin, hindi siya maa-address or walang kulang ng commitment and
Yes.
resources. Okay. Again, gender mainstreaming, according to the United Nations, ECOSOC in 1997, it's a strategy for making women's and men's concerns and experiences an integral dimension of the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of our policies and programs sa lahat ng spheres ng government, may it be political, when we mainstream gender into these processes, ay para or hindi magpatuloy ang inequality. Okay. Moving on po, the Philippine gender mainstreaming. Again, we consider dito sa gender mainstreaming na may pagkakaiba, hindi pagkakapantay-pantay. China-challenge natin ngayon itong mga gender rules na nakakapag-push pa sa mga kababaihan sa margins, hindi napapansin. And they are regarded as passive recipients only and beneficiaries of development. And then we also stress the need for women to participate in development processes. So later on, siguro i-share ko din kung paano ito pwedeng i-relate sa women economic empowerment sector. So ang women's economic empowerment sector regarded as doing care responsibilities sa ating mga households. So si nanay nasa bahay, nag-aalaga ng bata, nagluluto, nag-aasikaso ng asawa na nagtatrabaho sa labas, and then gumagawa ng iba-iba pang gawaing bahay. Minsan naghahatid sa mga anak, ganyan. So ang mga programa, for example ngayon, ng mga ating government agencies, binibuild ang pagiging financially literate at ang pagiging business-minded ng ating mga kababaihan. And when we do that, titingnan natin, mahahati na yung oras ng mga kababaihan. For example, ng mga nanay, na-empower na sila. They are empowered to start their own business, to start their small enterprise. They're already learning how to build or grow their businesses. Pero hindi nabawasan yung care responsibilities nila sa bahay. So that's what we call multiple burden. No? So that's the caveat or challenge when we push for or implement women economic empowerment programs. Kailangan makita din natin kapag gumagawa tayo ng programa na makapag-empower ng mga kababaihan kung yung iba bang burden na meron siya prior doon sa program or proyekto na ibinigay ng gobyerno ay na-worsen ba, mas lumala ba yung sitwasyon niya. Because women are being empowered to become women entrepreneurs, pero yung burden nila sa households hindi nahati, no? So there are still suffering or challenged by multiple burdens when it comes to their household. So that is, yun yung role ng gender mainstreaming. We challenge, sina-challenge natin yung gender role. So ibig sabihin, pwede namang maghati, na mag-share ng care responsibilities ang ating lalaki at babae, di ba? When it comes to household. So that's what we do when we do gender mainstreaming, specifically or particularly when implementing women economic empowerment programs. Ayan. So gender mainstreaming, again, it involves changing the policies and institutions to actively promote gender equality. Okay. Ayan. Again, gender mainstreaming, kapag meron tayo niyan, ang ating end goal ay gender equality kasi we make gender equality as a fundamental value in development choices and institutional practice. Kaya dapat leveled off, may mga consultation tayo sa ating mga beneficiaries down the ground when we are implementing, or kahit nandoon pa lang tayo sa design or pag-develop ng ating programa. Kasi baka may mga hindi tayo nakikitang issues doon sa baba. Ayan. So ano po ba ang Philippine GAD mainstreaming strategy? Okay. The Philippine GAD mainstreaming strategy is two-pronged po ang ating approach na ito. Ayan. So the Philippine Commission Women is implementing a two-pronged gender mainstreaming strategy focused sa institutional development, meaning capacitating yung mga tao sa ating gobyerno and mga development planners natin sa government, and we ensure that GAD or gender is integrated sa kanilang mga programs, activities, and projects. Ayan. So we have the internal. These are yung mga changes sa organization natin. For example, sa mga government offices, organizations, yung kanilang mga internal clients dito ay ang kanilang mga officials, kanilang mga employees. So we influence them to embrace the goals and values of gender mainstreaming para ma-align nila to or ma-integrate nila to sa lahat ng kanilang mga work procedures. And then the external, ito po yung mga changes in development operation, which, for example, the design, implementation, and evaluation, including influencing goals, strategies, resource allocation, that we provide specialized gender technical input. So ito po, yung external naman, ito yung mga pinoprovide ng mga government agencies sa kanilang mga beneficiaries. So for example, si DTI, ang kanyang beneficiary ay mga consumers. So ano po ba yung mga programa ng DTI para maprotektahan ang karapatan ng mga consumers? And then pagtitingnan po natin yan kung na-integrate po ba ang mga gender issues with in relation sa consumer care or consumer protection. So that's how we implement gender mainstreaming strategy here in the Philippines. Okay, so we're done with the gender mainstreaming definition. Ayan. Ngayon naman, isi-share ko naman po sa inyo yung mga international mandates ng Philippine Commission on Women at kung saan po naa-anchor ang aming mandato and advocacy. First, let us talk about the international mandates. So internationally, una sa ating listahan, we have the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or we call it CEDAW. The CEDAW is considered as the International Bill of Rights of Women, which affirms the reproductive rights of women and targets the culture and tradition as influential forces shaping gender roles and family relations. Ayan. So yung United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, or the UNCSW, is focused po sa bibigay ng mga standards and formulation of international conventions para baguhin yung mga discriminatory na legislation, batas, and address yung mga issues talaga ng ating mga kababaihan. Okay, next po sa ating international mandate. So in 1995, yung ating Beijing Platform for Action, it became a landmark document that would advance the rights of women and gender equality. So this document is considered as the most progressive blueprint for the advancements of women's rights and is another international commitment na ini-implement po ng Pilipinas to achieve gender equality and women's empowerment. So the document, itong ating BPFA plus 25 report, ay may 12 critical areas of concerns of women and girls. And bawat isa po doon ay may mga strategic objectives and mga proposed na interventions or concrete actions. Ayan, as an overview of these 12 concerns, pagtitingnan din natin dyan kung ano yung relevant sa women's economic empowerment. So at the BPFA 12 areas of concerns, we have the women and the environment, we have the violence against women, the girl child, women and the economy, institutional mechanisms, women and armed conflict, human rights of women, education and training of women, women and poverty. We also have the women and power and decision making, women and health, and women and the media. So that dyan po naka-anchor din ang mga ating Magna Carta, yung ini-implement din po ni PCW based on its mandates. Again, so this BPFA is it adopted mainstreaming, yung nabanggit natin kanina, no, gender mainstreaming as a strategy for or platform for action, emphasizing the two aspects. First is yung integration of equality concerns sa analysis and formulation of programs. So kanina po no nabanggit ko ang ibig habang tuwing magpaplano, magagawa tayo ng programa, magka-craft tayo ng program or proyekto para sa mga beneficiaries. Dito i-integrate na natin yung concerns when it comes to the disparity or pagkakaiba nga po ng karapatan ng babae at lalaki at ng lahat ng kasarian. So we integrate here in the analysis and formulation ng ating mga programa para masigurado po natin na positive ang impact nito sa women and develop during the implementation of the project. And second is yung pag-include, pagsama, pag-recognize ng interests, needs, experiences, and visions of women to determine the overall development agenda. Kaya mahalaga po na tinitingnan natin na hindi lamang tayo magpagagawa ng plano for sa isang proyekto, sa isang community. Pagtingnan po natin, kausapin natin yung mga beneficiaries, no, on how it would benefit them, and then para marinig din natin kung paano din ito makakaapekto negatively sa kanilang current na pamumuhay. And then, from there, malaman natin yung mga issues, makakapag-identify na tayo ng mga strategies kung paano natin to ma-address or paano natin maiiwasan yung mga paglala ng mga gender issues sa ating sa kanilang community. Okay. And again, and of course, we have the international mandate, which is the Sustainable Development Goals. So this is born during the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development in Rio de Janeiro in 2012. The SDGs replaced the Millennium Development Goals, which started a global effort in the year 2000 to tackle the indignity of poverty. Ayan. So ano nga ba ang dito makikita na natin kung ano yung mga goals, sustainable development goals na related po sa women economic empowerment. So madami, no? We have the no poverty, we have the zero hunger, we also have gender equality, of course, affordable clean and energy, and marami pang iba dyan na pwede nating ma-identify later on. So for the Philippine record po dito sa pag-promote ng SDG 5 or Gender Equality and Empowerment of all women and girls sa lahat ng government agencies and instrumentalities. Kasi ang gender equality, it cuts across the other 16 SDGs. So ibig sabihin, lahat ng sustainable development goals ay kailangang lagyan o bigyan ng kagamitan ng gender lens. At kailangan meron din pong pagtingin kung may karampatang karapatan ang babae at lalaki and lahat ng kasarian. Okay, eto kanina, nabanggit na natin to very briefly. We're now done with the international mandates. We now move on to the discussion of the national mandates. First in our list is ang ating RA 9710 or the Magna Carta of Women. Ayan. So it is, kanina nabanggit natin yung CEDAW, no? So kung ang CEDAW po, it's an international mandate. Dito sa ating bansa, ang Magna Carta of Women, ang ating local translation ng CEDAW. Na again, it was legislated in 2009. Specifically, itong Magna Carta of Women ay minamandate or nire-require lahat ng government agencies, offices, bureaus, instrumentalities, SUCs, GOCCs, and local government units to pursue the adoption of gender mainstreaming as a strategy to promote and fulfill women's human rights and eliminate gender discrimination. Again, sa kanilang mga structures, systems, policies, programs, and processes. So okay, meron tayong Magna Carta of Women na nagsasabing ang ating mga local government units, ang ating mga SUCs, ating mga government agencies ay mandated to adopt gender mainstreaming. Para napapagkita na natin kung ano yung mga gender issues sa kanya-kanyang mga programa or policy na ginagawa natin sa ating mga organisasyon or ahensya na kinabibilangan. Okay. Dito po, nilalaman naman ng ating Magna Carta of Women ang mga several institutional mechanisms na makakapag-provide ng assistance sa ating agencies sa kanilang efforts. Kasi syempre, si PCW as a catalyst for gender mainstreaming, of course, we are mandated as well to provide assistance to guide our government agencies in achieving or pushing their gender mainstreaming efforts. First, yung ating mga government agencies, offices, bureaus, nabanggit po ito ni Ms. Vivian kanina, no? Should formulate their annual GAD plans, programs, and budgets within the context of their mandates. Or yung pag-develop ng GAD plan and budget. Kasi if we fail to do so, the agencies would have to explain to our Commission on Audit kung sino yung nagko-conduct po ng ating mga audit, no, on the judicious use of GAD funds. So ang role ni PCW ay to do an initial review of the agency's GAD plans and budgets. Titingnan namin kung ang mga plano ba, mga programa ng mga government agencies ay akma sa pag-respond or pag-address ng mga gender issues, pero dapat align sa mandato nila, no? So for example, si DTI, ang mandato nito is for women to promote economic empowerment among men and women. So dapat ang kanyang mga programa na nakatala doon sa GAD plan and budget ay inline doon, no? So pwede dito yung financial literacy, training on marketing, on the use of social media, mga ganong pong mga klaseng programa. And then we review if it's integrated with gender perspective. Ayan. So pangalawa, doon sa chapter 6 on the institutional mechanisms na nilalaman po ng Magna Carta of Women ay ang pag-create or pagtatag ng GAD focal points. Kasi meron po tayong mga influence ng mga agencies to establish, magbuo ang mga ahensya ng kanilang GAD focal point system. Kasi isa itong mekanismo para mas mapush pa natin o mapush nila ang kanilang mga gender mainstreaming efforts within their organizations and even sa mga local government units. And lastly ay ang pag-generate or pag-maintain ng database. Kasi 'di ba, paano naman natin malalaman kung ano ang pagkakaiba ng concerns and experiences ng babae, lalaki, ng lahat ng kasarian if we don't have GAD database. Ang datos po ay importante na elemento sa pag-push ng ating gender mainstreaming initiatives. So what we do is we advocate for the development and maintenance of a GAD database, ensure that the data of the agencies or the local government units are sex disaggregated, and include gender statistics, pwedeng age, sex disaggregated, para magamit natin to as inputs kung paano tayo magpaplano, gagawa ng policy and policy formulation. One example of which po is in the education sector. For example, mas mataas ang completion rate ng mga mga schoolgirl children compared sa mga kalalakihan. So ano ba ang si DepEd yan? Nakamandato sila to formulate plans or programs or probably to amend their laws para magpantay ang completion rate ng babae at lalaki when it comes to basic education. So may mga ganun pong mga scenario, and that is how we reiterate or emphasize the significance of generating and maintenance of GAD database. Ayan. So the commission naman, next doon sa ating institutional mechanism, na-identify namin dito sa Magna Carta of Women yung Commission on Human Rights as the GAD Ombud, or ang nagmo-monitor ng compliance ng mga ahensya para makita yung mga violations nila both in the public and private institutions in line doon sa implementation ng Magna Carta of Women. Ayan. Kasi as mentioned, the Magna Carta of Women mandates the Commission on Audit to conduct ni Commission on Audit kung the budget was used judiciously, efficiently, and effectively, and if the interventions or activities of in the GAD plan have addressed the gender issues na identified. Because it's you should identify first kung ano yung mga gender issues, ano yung gusto mong i-resolve. And then of course may karampatang activity na pwede mong gawin, and then titingnan ni COA kung na-address ba. Pero ito po, si PCW, we are the initial reviewer of the GAD plans and budgets. Okay, that we endorse it we submit it for endorsement. So ano po ba ang mga mandates na relevant sa women's economic empowerment na nakasaad sa ating Magna Carta? So we have the Section 20, Food Security and Productive Resources, kung saan the state through its implementing agencies shall recognize the contribution of women in food production and ensure the participation of women. Right to resources for food production. Ayan. Then we have the Section 22, right to decent work. The state shall progressively realize and ensure na meron tayong disenteng trabaho para sa mga kababaihan, creation of jobs that are acceptable sa kanilang conditions of freedom, equity, security, and human dignity. And we also have the Section 23, right to livelihood, credit, capital, and technology. So this is siguro dito, I'm sure dito po mapasok si DTI, the equal access to formal sources of credit and capital, and yung mga iba pang agencies, they ensure the equal share to the produce of farms and aquatic resources, employment opportunities for returning women migrant workers, taking into account yung kanilang mga skills and qualifications, especially during the pandemic when there are a lot of repatriated overseas Filipino workers. So the state shall also promote skills and entrepreneurship development for returning migrant workers. Ayan. So ito, very quick, i-mention lang po natin. Reiterate ko lang din yung nabanggit kanina, yung paggawa or pag-formulate ng GAD plans and budgets ng ating mga agencies. This should be pursuant to the General Appropriations Act, in which we are mandated that all government instrumentalities should allocate minimum of 5% ng kanilang total agency budget. Ayan. So, hindi po ito separate budget ha. So, kung ano yung total budget ng mga government agency ng mga bureaus, SUCs, kukuha tayo doon ng minimum na 5%. But 5% is not the limit na pwede mong i-allot sa gender and development na programs and projects. That is not the limit of your budget. So, pwedeng sumobra, pwedeng 100%, ganyan. Ayan. So, but of course, we would ensure from PCW na yung inyong mga GAD plans and budgets na pwede namang na-meet nyo yung 5%, but then we will review it if yung mga activities na nilagay nyo po doon ay gender responsive or talagang ginawa para ma-address ang mga issues ng ating mga kababaihan at kalalakihan. Ayan. So next we have the PPGD. This is the Philippines 30-year plan on how to achieve gender equality and women's empowerment. So here, the PPGD outlines the goals and strategies of the Philippines to achieve gender equality and women empowerment. Ang plano po ito ay sinisigurado na women-friendly ang mga polisiya natin and can take root and flourish even though there are barriers posed by traditional attitudes and stereotypes. Okay. Next po, sa ating national mandates or the GAD-related plans, we also have the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Plan. So this is a time slice nung ating na-mention kanina, yung PPGD, that contains compendium of indicators to monitor and evaluate the GW efforts. Kasi itong Gender and Equality and Women's Empowerment Plan, we shorten it to GW plan, no? The GW efforts of the country. The DTI can also use this GW plan in the formulation of your GAD agenda. So I'm sure the Department of Trade and Industry, specifically its GAD GAD office, is aware that you can use this GW plan in the formulation of your GAD agenda. Ayan. So, okay pa ba tayo? Pakita naman ako ng mga thumbs up ng ating mga listeners. I'm now down to the last session of my presentation. Ayan. So, CPCW, we have the Sectoral Coordination Division. Marami kaming division po no, sa commission. We have the division on providing technical services sa mga regional offices, sa mga that's called the TSRCD. We also have the Policy Development Division that monitors yung mga WPLA. They're in charge of the GW formulation of the GW plan. So si Sectoral Coordination Division naman, kung saan po ako kabilang, ay ito, bibigyan po natin ng pagkilala dahil ang isa sa aming focus area na sector ay ang women's economic empowerment. So the Sectoral Coordination Division of the PCW is established during the expansion of the Commission under the Accelerating the Implementation of the Magna Carta of Women for Inclusive Development and Empowerment, or AIM-WIDE, which started in 2017 to respond sa mga pagdami ng demand of more sector-focused interventions. So we're a pretty much new division that is focused on gathering all relevant organizations and agencies in all the sectors po. Ayan. So our core mandates are focused on the following. So we influence, same doon sa overall mandate ni PCW, we influence ang pagiging gender responsive ng mga agencies and ng mga policies sa sector, no? Their programs, activities, and projects, their mechanisms, yung kanilang mga framework, yung mga tools and processes nila, ay ini-influence namin to become more gender responsive through capacity building and advocacy and sector-focused monitoring. Second, we are in charge of guiding the national government agencies in developing, implementing, and monitoring of their gender-responsive policies and PAPs towards closing sectoral gender gap. We also manage GAD and GAD-related issues focused on individual sectoral. So again, based on our name, sectoral ang aming approach, no? It also includes monitoring reports on national and international policies and commitments. We also conduct program-level review and monitoring of the implementation of the GAD PAPs of the agencies that we are prioritizing. Ayan, so ano ba ang priority sector ni Sectoral Coordination Division? We have the peace and security. So kung ano po yung mga naiisip nyo ng mga national government agencies under the peace and security sector, we are engaging with them in order to push for gender responsive within the sector. Ayan. Then we have the environment sector, we have the education, and the women's economic empowerment. So kaya po nandito tayo ngayon because the women's economic empowerment sector is one of the priority focus areas of the Sectoral Coordination Division. Kung saan po kabilang dito si DTI. Ayan. So agencies under the women's economic empowerment sector. Alam kong madami pa pong mga agencies or organizations that are involved in this specific sector. For the Philippine Commission, we've identified these agencies na priority or parang key implementing agencies kasi sila yung mga key implementers dito sa ating dito po sa government, no. So we have the Department of Trade and Industry, the Department of Science and Technology. This is for the MSME subsectors, ang DTI at DOST. Dito naman po sa Department of Agriculture, Department of Agrarian Reform, the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources or BIFAR. These are under the agriculture, forestry, and fisheries subsectors. So apart po dito sa mga priority agencies na pinibigyan namin ng proactive, yung nabanggit natin kanina, no, sa unang session, binibigyan namin ng proactive technical assistance. We are also closely working with the attached agencies ng mga ahensya na ito para holistic din kasi 'di ba kailangan talaga holistic, collaborative, and participative ang ating strategies and processes to achieve gender-responsive development. Okay, next. Ano po ba yung mga gender issues under the WE sector? Kasi na-mention natin kanina that the Sectoral Coordination Division is also in charge of identifying the gender issues. We spearheaded the analyzing kung ano yung mga issues under the sector, specifically po yung WE sector, para makapaggawa kami ng plano para sa mga ahensya kanina na pinakita natin kung paano namin sila mai-influence na ma-resolve or ma-address itong mga issues na ating mga kababaihan in the WE sector. So una, high poverty incidence among rural women due to low access to economic resources. So ito po ay existing gender issue na, no? And then come the pandemic, may mga na-aggravate or na-widen yung mga gender gap because of restrictions na kasabay doon sa pagyayari ng COVID pandemic. So lalo pang na-repress, no, ang mga rural women when it comes to poverty and low access sa mga resources nila. Second is the limited access to digital transformation tools, production, and value-adding technologies and information. Ayan. So that's why very significant po yung Great Women Project 2 because it embraces the use of ICT, capacitating our women micro-entrepreneurs to use digital tools. Third is the limited involvement of women in leadership, organization, and decision-making. Next is the need to assess kung gaano ba ka-gender responsive ang mga batas, mga polisiya and programa ng ating gobyerno. Kaakibat po doon sa pag-achieve ng women economic empowerment. And the next is multiple burden. Ito yung nabanggit ko kanina, no, na kapag gumagawa tayo ng programa para sa mga women beneficiaries natin, tinitingnan ba natin yung pagdagdag ng burden sa kanila na existing na kasi they're doing care responsibilities, and then we are empowering them to become women entrepreneurs. But the care responsibilities ay nandoon pa din, hindi nabawasan, 100% ay nandun pa din. At minsan nga, di ba, sa ibang households, hindi ito lang sa immediate family. Minsan, sa extended family pa tayo nagpo-provide ng care work. So may mga multiple burden na existing and mas napapalala pang issue when it comes under the we sector. Next is the difficulty of women to sustain and scale up their businesses. So madaming factors no na nakakaapekto dito sa gender issue na ito. And that's why maganda yung mga programa ng DTI kasi ito ay pinapatupad upang isulong ang pag-sustain and pag-scale up. Kasi yun nga po yung partnership with the Great Women Project 2, no, ay maipartner ang ating mga women micro-entrepreneurs sa ibang organizations for them to sustain and grow their businesses. And next po, the invisibility of women and gender concerns in free trade agreements. So those were the gender issues that we've identified under the we sector. So we build on those gender issues, we analyze them, and then we formulated po a proactive technical assistance plan para sa mga priority agencies ni Sectoral Coordination Division. Ayan, sana nakikita natin no, yung mga nakasulat. Kasi dito po nakalagay yung 4 years or 4 na taon na technical assistance plan ni PCW sa mga government agencies from 2022 to 2024. Ayan, so we're now on our pangalawang taon na. Ayan, pangatlong taon na po pala ng ating pag-implement ng technical assistance plan sa ating mga government agencies. So ito po, we have yung mga sectoral gaps and challenges. Ano ba yung mga gaps sa mga government agencies and sa iba pang mga non-government organizations and even sa mga CSOs, ano ba yung mga gap doon? And then kasi kaya ang focus ni Sectoral Coordination Division ay sa mga national government agencies muna. Dahil sila ang nag-i-implement, nagfo-formulate ng mga plano and programa, and ibinababa natin ito sa grassroots or community level. And then when we've already capacitated itong mga program developers, policy formulators po ng ating government, ngayon natin isinasama yung mga ibang organizations na part ng sector or relevant doon sa sector, na makakapag bigay ng mas mataas na representasyon ng mga kababaihan down the grassroots level. So yan po, we have proposed TA interventions or technical interventions and strategies sa kanila. Ayan, so mamaya makikita natin. Ifa-flash ko lang very briefly, but I will explain later kung ano po yung mga na-conduct na namin and ano pa yung mga upcoming activities. Okay. So ano po ba yung mga conducted or mga nagawa na activities ni Philippine Commission on Women through the Sectoral Coordination Division? So let's start sa taong 2021. Ayan. So meron po kaming ginawa na roundtable discussion. I-share ko lang din na nahahati po sa dalawa ang aming intervention sa mga agencies. No? We have the issue-based and the skill-based. Issue-based, ibig sabihin may mga gender issues among the women stakeholders ng sector na kailangan naming i-resolve. Ibig sabihin may gathering ng mga NGAs, may representatives sa NGAs, ng non-government organizations, CSOs. Dadalhin namin sila sa isang venue or the PCW serves as an avenue for them to relay or share their concerns when related doon sa mga policies and programs ng mga government agencies. And yung isa naman po na intervention ay skill-based. So ibig sabihin capacitate. Skill, increasing capacities ng mga government agencies or officials para mas matuto sila kung paano magkaroon or ma-develop ang kanilang gender lens to have a more nuanced gender perspective to identify the gender issues sa kanilang mga ini-implement na programa and policies. So una, sa issue-based ay yung roundtable discussion on the readiness and adaptability of WMEs sa information and communications technology. So ito po ay dinaluhan ng mga women or groups, representatives. So ako ay isa din sa mga nagtawag ng mga participants po dito, no? And talagang nakita ko kung ano yung challenge ng mga kababaihan, especially those living in the rural areas when it comes to the use of ICT, no? Kasi yung iba nahihirapan sa rural areas kasi they do the first and foremost the challenge is on how to use it. They don't know how to use it. Yung iba, the internet connection is not reliable. So they are experiencing challenges dito sa pag-attend ng aming roundtable discussion, which we conducted online kasi we have to continue with the initiatives despite the pandemic or the movement restrictions. So it's really a challenge, but it was a success naman po. Na nakita namin kung ano yung mga issues. Gumawa kami may output kami niyan na naka-summarize kung ano yung mga nararanasan na issues ng mga kababaihan when it comes to information and communications technology and na-gauge kung gaano ba sila ka-ready and ka-ready to adapt. Okay, second is the stakeholders consultations on strengthening economic support to rural women last June 17 to 18. Ayan. So again, ito yung mga stakeholders consultation po ay dinadala namin yung mga national government agencies. Nag-i-invite kami ng representatives from CSOs para makita pa kung ano pa yung mga kulang na intervention or baka titingnan natin kung ano yung mga existing na intervention ng mga gobyerno na pwede nating ma-assess kung nakakapag-respond ba talaga siya sa mga gender issues ng sector po, especially or particularly our rural women. Kung may mga needs kasi na nagbabago po, 'di ba? So maybe yung mga programs natin or policies are outdated na, hindi na niya na-consider yung mga existing concerns of rural women, especially with the onslaught of the pandemic. Ayan. Sa mga skill-based naman po, so yun yung mga issue-based. So kasi yun yung may mga dinidiscuss tayong gender issues and then we consult with the agencies on how to respond. We provide recommendations. Then that's what we call the issue-based interventions. Ito naman po, the skill-based activities, we conducted virtual harmonized gender and development guidelines training for the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Agrarian Reform for their program implementers. Ibang explanation naman po itong Hagadaga. We call it Hagadaga. Ang ginagamit po itong tool, ito ay isang gender analysis tool na ginagamit ng mga program implementers para yung mai-implement nilang program or mga gagawin nilang programa ay gender responsive na. So that we trained the program implementers of these agencies so that when they craft programs, they already know how to address specific gender issues na really relevant doon sa kanilang community kung saan nila i-implement or ipapatupad yung programa. Okay, so we also did this similar training for DTIs, program managers and implementers. For 2022 naman po, so this was last year, ang issue-based activities natin is we conducted a series of consultation meetings for the formulation of policy recommendation para mapagtibay ang economic support sa ating mga kababaihan na nasa kabilang sa AFF and MSME sectors. Ayan. So, ang gusto namin dito ay makadevelop kami ng policy recommendations. Kasi dito, series siya ng consultation. We gather first yung mga national government agency representatives under the WE sector, and then the next are the CSOs and private entities, and then the rural women po, or the women entrepreneurs. So dyan makikita kasi, ito kasi is consultative, no? Makikita nyo na ang approach ni Sectoral Coordination Division ay talagang lahat ng sector at lahat ng stakeholders noong particular na sector na iyon. Kasi nga, we're aiming for gender responsive or a holistic gender responsive development. Ayan. We also conducted the SDD or Sex Disaggregated Data Training for the key implementing agencies of the WE sector. Okay. We're almost done na po, no? Baka I'm running out of time. Let me know sa ating moderator. Ayan. So again, we also did the Hagadaga training for the BIFARS program implementers. And for 2023, although hindi pa po tapos ang ating 2023, no? Kasunod po nung series of consultation meeting, nung nagawa na namin ang policy recommendations, nagkaroon naman po kami ng planning workshop para makadevelop ng mga policy briefs or sectoral plan to address the gender issues noong AFF sector nga po and ang mga MSME. So dito, we gather the relevant agencies, CSOs, and women's groups para makuha ang kanilang input sa paggawa ng policy brief. Convergence plan para mga ibang agencies at makikita nila kung saan sila pwedeng tumulong based sa kanilang mandato and capacity. Okay, so for the upcoming activities for 2023, we have finalization and implementation. Yung nabanggit ko po kanina yung convergence plan. And yung SDD training po na kinonduct namin last year, we are looking into data that we need para doon sa data sharing agreement. And then next po is i-review namin, i-revise, and gamitin yung mga training modules and materials ng mga agencies at ma-integrate siya, malagyan ng WE perspective or development din ito ng kanilang module design. KP materials or GAD IEC materials para po sa WE. Ayan. So yun din po ina-advocate natin and also relevant to the consumer rights is we push for gender fair representation of both men and women and all genders sa lahat ng mga advertisement campaigns. Stereotyping because of those advertisements. Ayan. So I'm down to my last slide. Ayan. Upcoming skill-based activities. Conduct rights shop for the finalization of the GAD agenda. We're also planning to conduct gender analysis training sa lahat ng mga program and project implementers po ng GFPS or GAD Focal Point System. Priority po dito si BIFAR and DAR. And then we're also doing gender analysis training na community level ang gamit. So down to the ground, down to the grassroots level. And we are all involved, we're involving here the entire sector agencies under the Women Economic Empowerment sector. And so I hope our viewers ay hindi na information overload, and I hope you've captured the role of the Philippine Commission in achieving gender equality and how of gender equality and women empowerment. So maraming salamat po sa pakikinig.
Good morning po ulit sa ating mga participants. Let us now proceed to our question and answer portion. But before we start, give lang ako na short reminder sa ating lahat. Yung ating mga participants, please stay muted po unless po you are addressed po ng ating speaker or ating moderator directly. Please be also informed na makakapag-download po tayo ng copy ng ating presentation material after you accomplish po yung ating client satisfaction form or the CSF form that will be posted. We encourage everyone po to click yung ating raise hand button po so we can call you and ask directly para doon po sa ating speakers. Tapos pwede rin po naman isend din ang inyong mga questions sa ating chat box. Okay? So let's look at the questions po. Meron bang magre-raise hand sa ating mga participants? Sige, let's proceed to the chat. First question po from Miss Ellen Reyes Gallares. In assessing inequalities, what are the factors to look into? Ayan, ma'am.
Sorry, ma'am. Ano yung in assessing inequalities, what are the factors to look into? Okay, so may mga ginagamit po tayong mga tools, the gender analysis tools as we call it. Kasi dito tinitingnan natin yung, of course, yung WAC-PC, welfare, access, consentization, kaakibat na factors na pwede nating tingnan para malaman kung ano yung mga existing inequalities po sa isang community or sa between men and women. So titingnan natin welfare. Ano ang pagkakaiba ng welfare ng babae at lalaki? Paano mas mataas ba ang access ng kababaihan when it comes to financial or kasi ngayon mas mababa ang access ng mga kababaihan when it comes to financial capital sa mga sa AFF or sa AFF sector, we are advocating for the use of fisher folks instead of fisherman. Kasi pwede na with the help of the Philippine Commission on Women, we also provide yung mga training nga po kung paano nyo gagamitin yung mga tools na meron kami na dinevelop namin with the other government organizations and international organizations. Na gagawin natin. I hope I answered the question.
Ayan. Thank you for that, Miss Anne. For our next question po, from Miss Gina Yap. Can natin kanina.
Role of PCW is an oversight agency. We can only do so much sa pag-influence sa mga iba pang institutions ng gobyerno na nagpapatupad talaga ng mga programa or mga laws na ito, So tinitingnan po namin yan. Isa din sa mga area na ina-assess ni PCW ay ang sa mga migrant workers, sa mga overseas Filipino workers, and we work closely with relevant agencies na ang mandato po ay naka-anchor doon. So we titingnan we oversee, we monitor yung mga batas na ipinapasa po sa Kongreso at yung mga pag-amend nga po ng mga batas na tingin namin ay parang discriminatory para sa mga kababaihan or even in all across all genders.
Okay, thank you for that. For our next question, ito po, in addressing gender social norms, how does PCW work with DepEd? Lalong-lalo na po, importante, no? Early age, yung pagkakaintindi
Yes.
natin sa gender equality. So, ano yung mga programa natin or how do we work with DepEd?
Yes, since DepEd, since nakita nyo kanina sa presentation, ano ang education, specifically, particularly si DepEd, since they are into the basic education. So we're working closely with sa kanilang instructional materials and sa kanilang mga teaching strategies. So ang 4-year technical assistance plan, no? So sa education sector, meron din kami niyan na talagang targeting yung pag-eliminate ng gender bias and gender norms. So what we do for Philippine Commission on Women, nagkaroon na po kami ng mga consultation with their curriculum developers. Kasi first, you have to capacitate the curriculum developers para ma-develop nila or magkaroon sila ng gender lens, no? Kasi pag hindi mo nakikita ang pagkakaiba ng babae at lalaki, ng batang babae at batang lalaki, at hindi mo nakikita yung gender stereotypes or yung mga gender biases, how will you develop a curriculum that is gender fair or materials that are gender fair? So what we do is, of course, first we capacitate. And of course, importante din po dito, ma'am, ang makuha natin yung buy-in, no, ng mga curriculum developers and of course the Department of Education, in which naman si DepEd is very collaborative. We've been working with them. We've been training them on gender analysis. And now, nagpupush na po kami ng pag-develop ng checklist. Meron na kaming dinedevelop a checklist with them. Kasama po dito si TESDA and si CHED para holistic nga, no? Kasi from basic ed to higher ed to TechVoc ay mainstream ang gender sa lahat ng educational materials na itinuturo sa ating mga kabataan. And it's radiating na hanggang doon, accelerating towards TechVoc training. So that's how we
For our next question, usually po, no, right after childbirth, it is inevitable to most women to cite having gap. Nagkakaroon sila ng gap, lalo na pag nag-aalaga ng bagong anak hanggang siguro kahit hanggang preschool, pa natin, no? So, what are do we have existing returnship or return to work programs para sa mga ganitong mothers kung saan ay inuuna nila yung kanilang pagiging mothers nila, then magre-return or gusto nilang mag-back to work na. So, yon, wala kasi silang ganung kalaking kulang sila sa experience. So, may ganito ba tayong mga programa?
I believe meron yung mga ibang department, no, government agencies, but for the Philippine Commission on Women, we influence policies na para mas madali para sa mga kababaihan to go back to work. So una, when yung expanded maternity leave, we push for that para mas magkaroon ng mahabang panahon ang mga kababaihan after childbirth, ganyan. But when for the return of women after pregnancy to go back to work, dito po papasok yung telecommuting women. But definitely ensuring din na safe and secure ang kanilang workplace sa kanilang mga pamamahay. Kasi minsan may mga kababaihan po no because of the pandemic. And then, yung multiple burden, like, so we also push for that kind of transition women to work in the work, to go back to work. Pero yun nga po, we're pushing for a safe and secure, flexible work arrangement.
Okay. For our next question naman, Miss Anne. So here we have childcare and social norms about gender roles in the household play a critical role in holding back
Mga government agencies. But yung unpaid care work, it's one of the, yun na-mention ko po kanina, that we are developing or formulating a policy brief to address yung mga concerns or gender issues sa AFF sector and MSME sector. Kabilang, meron po, itong policy brief po na ito ay merong, so kabilang women entrepreneurship and yung meron ding unpaid care work and yung practicing sustainable or green business practices. So yung unpaid care work doon sa 5 policy areas if we didn't see that there's a need to address the care economy or the unpaid care work or yung mga multiple burdens ng ating mga kababaihan. So ngayon po, ang ipinapatupad po ni PCW ay yun nga ang ma-lobby, ma-finalize po yung Convergence Initiative that would address not just the unpaid care work issue but the other pre-identified issues po ng Philippine Commission on Women na nagbunga po ito ng aming mga consultations sa national government agencies, CSOs, and yung mga beneficiaries po mismo o mga kababaihan po mismo. And in addition to that, we're also ganito kasi we're also pushing for replicating yung mga policies ng mga ibang bansa, no? Para makita, so ini-involve namin na for example si DSWD or si DepEd when it comes to early childhood care and then si DSWD sa Daycare Act. Ayan, so inihikayat namin sila to join us sa mga usapin or consultation with other organizations na pwedeng mag-embark, pwedeng ma-replicate na ito yung mga policies na pwede nating i-consider para mas maging katulad tayo ng ibang bansa in the way that we address the unpaid care work. Kasi ang unpaid care work po, ang mahirap kasi dito is yun nga yung kakulangan ng social protection, no? Ganyan. So yun yung mga pinupush naming mga consultations. It's definitely part of the priority areas of the Philippine Commission on Women and of course in partnership with other relevant organizations.
Okay, thank you, Miss Anne. For our next question, we have here from Miss Avril DG. What do PCW do about child brides under the Sharia law? Thank you. Yun po.
It's not within the scope of the work of the Sectoral Coordination Division. The child bride po, no? Tama? Ayan. So it's not part of the usapin ng Philippine Commission on Women. Siguro we can stay posted sa mga posts po or mga public information campaigns sa PCW regarding the issues that we've been addressing.
Okay. Again, from Ms. Gina Yap, we have another question. So what do you think po is the most significant barrier to female empowerment? So malaki bang factor yung culture natin dito sa Pilipinas doon sa pag-push forward into female empowerment?
Yes, definitely. If you're looking in different perspectives, marami kang makikita kung ano yung pinaka-critical na factor na nakakapag-hamper ng full achievement ng empowerment ng mga kababaihan. Pero looking at the traditional parang perspective from a traditional side, malaking factor po yung cultural. No? It's very critical and difficult to challenge the norms. Lalo na kasi ito yung kinalakihan, no, ng ating mga kapwa Pilipino, ng ating mga pamilya. So what we do, ayan, ang magandang gawin po dito no ay talagang i-push ng government. Kung naalala niyo yung sa Bibingka Principle, kailangan talagang nagbabaga yung efforts ng nasa taas at ng nasa baba para talaga ma-achieve natin yung desired outcome. Kasi ang itong mga programa na ito ay mga resources na ibinibigay po ng gobyerno ay directed sa mga ating Filipino communities. So if they are well informed, I'm stressing out here yung pag-push sa information campaign, ganyan, para somehow ma-challenge natin yung mga cultural beliefs when it comes to gender roles, no? Because that's the most difficult thing to break, yung gender roles na based sa cultural and traditional norms. So what we can do as public servants, ayan, mga advocates for gender and development, is to push for the aggressive efforts to disseminate information, capacitate, inform them, increase their knowledge. And kasi lahat talaga ng lahat ng problema I think would resolve if we better communicate and we level off them. Kasi tingin ko naman ang culture natin ngayon ay willing naman yung iba to to be open to discussions, to new learnings, ganyan. And this siguro patience is a virtue when it comes to this type of advocacy, no? And yes, definitely, cultural gender norms is a big factor to fully achieve what we want to do.
Yeah, I believe nga po, ganun talaga, no? Mas maganda magsimula din sa mga
Yes.
sariling bahay natin.
Totoo
Ayan.
yan.
So, again, before we proceed to our next question, no, lang ako, no? Magta-time check lang tayo ngayon. It's 11:56. So, siguro we can accommodate last 3 questions po from our participants. So, we apologize that we can only accommodate few questions po because of our limited time. So, ayun po, no? Let's proceed to our next question na. Ayan, so Miss Anne, ito related sa sa businesses. So, how can we as businesses ensure po that our products or services are gender balanced?
Ayan. So, ang tingin ko dito ay dapat nandoon yun sa part po ng ating mga government agencies and mga ad campaigns, no? Ito yung nabanggit ko kasi consumer rights, when we advocate for consumer protection, ang pinagtitingnan natin din dito ay kung yung pag-advertise ba nito ay not feeding yung stereotypical biases, no? Yung mga gender biases. So you as a consumer, how will you ensure it? Siguro you have to do gender analysis, gender sensitivity training, no? Kasi mahalaga na meron din talaga tayong pagtingin. Magkaroon tayo ng lente ng gender. Kasi hindi natin makikita kung bias ba lens. And of course, kami, on our part and with the part of the DTI, we will work close together para yung mga dinidisseminate nating produkto ay safe, not just safe, no, not just secure, not just hindi lang to pumasa sa quality control, but also free of gender bias. Kasi we will oversee the implementation of all of this promotional campaigns and yun nga, to promote the consumer rights. But of course, to the question of how to ensure that hindi gender bias ang inyong produkto or serbisyo na nakukuha, I think you have to develop somehow a lens on gender perspective po.
Okay, thank you po, Ms. Anne, for our second question. Actually, this is my question po, no?
Okay.
We're talking about kapag pinag-uusapan natin gender equality, gender equity, it's always women or children kasama siya.
Yes.
Does this also kasama ba yung extended gender natin, yung LGBTQ? Para kasing usually talaga pag pinag-uusapan natin si gender development, women talaga papasok. So kasama ba ang ating yung umbrella gender natin, kumbaga, doon sa usapin ng gender development?
Yes, of course. Since kasi marami nagsasabi no na bakit Philippine Commission on Women, why Magna Carta of Women? But it's back with data. Traditionally, women are pushed to the margins, no. We are not allowed to vote, we are not allowed to go to work, like we're confined in our household. That's why we build on those mga efforts ng feminism ganyan para magawa or maipasa, maisulong itong mga Magna Carta of Women. And yes, to answer the question, kasama po ang extended na mga lahat ng kasarian. In fact, with the Policy Development Division and Monitoring po, we are closely monitoring yung pagpasa po ng SOGIE bill. Ayan. So meron kaming mga God orientation kasi lahat po ito ng gender, no? Lahat ng gender. And then, doon din sa aming mga basic God orientation, hindi lang naman po ang focus nito ay kababaihan, no? Hindi lang kalalakihan, but also yung mga ibang spectrum pa ng ating gender. And we also influence the government organizations, especially kapag ang mandato nila ay would affect all genders, to of course conduct mga gender analysis para malaman nila kung ano yung mga pagkakaibang karanasan, karapatan, benepisyo ng lahat ng kasarian na hindi lamang na lilimit sa kababaihan at kalalakihan. So kaya talagang maganda na nai-increase ang mga capacities ng mga lahat ng government officials, not even government officials, but down to the private, down to the CSOs to develop this gender perspective para encompassing, no? Ayan. So lahat po ng gender ay sakop naman ng mga or initiatives na pinupush ni Philippine Commission on Women.
Maganda talaga, no? Dapat isa lang yung lens na tinitingnan natin for us all to understand talaga yung, para mag-push to talaga yung development na tinatawag natin. Okay, for our last question, I think we have here, ito po, how can consumer help and support women empowerment? So bilang mga consumer naman, paano sila makaka-help contribute para sa women empowerment?
Yes, of course, syempre, no, based doon sa mga napanood ko na mga past webinar series, sustainable consumption talaga. Kasi it greatly affects, di ba kapag mga sustainable initiatives natin, when we talk about sustainability, it's closely linked to climate change, and then we link it to natural disasters. So being here in the Philippines na talagang prone tayo sa mga natural calamities, sa mga disasters, sino ba ang una-unang naaapektuhan dito? Siyempre, ang mga kababaihan, ang kanilang mga anak, lalo na sa mga rural area. So that's one part po, no, sustainable consumption. And siguro, ang isang part din po ay to, apart from conducting green business practices, is to promote din yung mga, like information, dissemination. Let's support the women entrepreneurs, no? Kasi as consumers, for example, me as a consumer, I really rally for women-owned businesses, may it be a small enterprise, may it be an informal enterprise, talagang parang kakaiba, no? Very empowering if you are buying or purchasing from someone, from a business na initiated ng isang kababaihan, or very inspiring. So I think in your small contributions, mga small steps as consumers, you can support women's economic empowerment by information dissemination, and of course, promoting yung ating mga locally owned women businesses and products. And yes, I stress ko lang, sustainable or green business practices and sustainable consumption.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Miss Anne. I think that wraps up po ang ating Q&A. And maraming salamat po sa ating sa mga nagtanong at mga magtatanong pa sana. Ayan, no? Again, Miss Anne at saka sa PCW, thank you for answering po yung ating mga questions. And we hope marami pong We ask po, Miss Anne, kung saan po maaaring dumulong o makontak po ang PCW or kayo po, no, ng ating mga participants kung meron pa silang mga katanungan or concerns at maaaring magbigay na rin po ng short message po sa atin.
Yes, of course. Gusto ko lang din i-mention, no, kasi since I already presented kung ano yung mandato ni Philippine Commission on Women. We also have this Interagency Council for Violence Against Women and Children. Ito po ay referral system or mekanismo ng Philippine Commission on Women para sa mga issues or reports on violence against women and children. So baka po ang mga tagapakinig natin ay may mga gustong i-report, then you're requiring attention po or intervention, you can all contact us or you can visit our website at www.pcw.government.ph po. And yung kapag mag-request naman po kayo ay ng mga technical assistance or any advice as consumers or mga collaterals, you can visit directly po yung aming website. Again, yung pcw.gov.ph. We have announcements po. You can also follow us on Facebook. We're on Facebook. We are also on Instagram. Para naman po sa mga tagapakinig natin na mga from other government agencies or SUCs or ibang institutions, we are doing the GAD webinar series na live din, just similar to this one that you have to register. You just have to monitor, no? Maging on the lookout kayo sa mga Facebook announcements para din malaman nyo. If you want to be trained on gender and development, para mas malaman nyo ng mas malalim ang mga gender analysis tools, we also do the GAD webinar series. So ladderized training po ito ni PCW that you can access online via Facebook then. And you can register and you will be provided with a certificate after that. And then if you have any concerns, you can also email us at PCW. Me personally po, yung aming sectoral coordination division, you can contact us at SCD, that's Sierra Charlie Delta at pcw.gov.ph. Ayan po. So we are very present online. You can search us on Facebook. You can search us through our website. Just hit us up po using those emails po. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Anne. But before we let you off, ask ko lang yung training kanina, is that free?
Yes, definitely po. Ayan. I think may iba po kasi na ladderized siya. So we talk about different other topics. May mga replay din siya sa YouTube and sa website namin. If you want to do, I think we did the training on Soji SC din. Ayan, meron din kaming mga ganun pong mga webinar. So stay posted po sa mga announcement ni PCW and mga events. Lalo na kasi kakatapos lang few months ago ng National Women's Month. Now we're preparing for the 18-day campaign naman. Next semester pa. Medyo matagal-tagal pa. So let's be alert na lang po sa mga any announcements if everyone is interested.
Okay, all right. Thank you po. Hindi lang sa DTI tayo check ng ating mga social media, pati if you wanted more to learn about women, gender development, let's follow din po yung mga socials po ni PCW. Again, thank you po, Miss Anne, and sa PCW sa pagdulong po sa aming imbitasyon hanggang sa susunod po. Thank you.
Yes, maraming salamat po.
And that, before we close this session, we would like to once again invite po ang ating mga participants to subscribe to our DTI 1384 SMS upang makatanggap po ng mga important reminders and updates mula sa DTI Consumer Protection Group. for free. Iscan lang po ang QR code na nakikita po ninyo sa inyong screens. Again, this is free or libre po para sa lahat. Again, this is free of charge. So this is to formally close po ang ating webinar for today. Muli hanggang maraming salamat po sa ating very capable speaker ngayong umaga. At mula po sa Consumer Protection Group, maraming salamat po sa ating mga participants na nakasama natin ngayong umaga. Huwag niyo pong kalimutang samahan muli kami at sa aming mga susunod na webinars. For our announcements, will be posted po sa aming social media accounts. For more updates, please like, follow, and subscribe po sa aming Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. TikTok na kami, and YouTube accounts, DTI Consumer Care, DTI 1384, and DTI Philippines. Also, kindly accomplish po yung ating CSF form po, no? And submit po yung ating survey form para makakuha po kayo ng link at para po ma-download po yung presentation na ginamit po natin ngayong umaga. And again, thank you so much, everyone, and stay safe.
Ang tunay na pangalan ng mga tao, lugar at organisasyon sa liham na tampok sa palabas na ito ay pinilitan at pinago.
Para sa ating mamamayang Pilipino, para iwas daya dapat wais at alisto. Mainam maging mapagmatsyag at mapanuri tayo. Palakasin ang boses ng ating mga konsumer. Dapat tama bawat presyo at serbisyo. Produktong pasado lalo ang mga pangunahing bilihin. Ang kalidad ng mga produkto at serbisyo ay pangalagaan ng lahat. Tayo ay panalo. Layunin ng DTI ito.
Ipatupad Price Act 7581, Consumer Act 7394, Product Standards 4109, for Consumer Care at iba pa, tayang 1384.
Ipalaganap karapatan at tungkulin. Kaalamang tama sa consumer ibahagi. Tulay sa kaunlaran, kalakalan ay palakasin. Ito ang pagbabago para sa ikabubuti natin. Dapat tapat bawat presyo at serbisyo. Produktong pasado lalo ang mga pangunahing bilihin. Ang kalidad ng mga produkto at serbisyo ay pangalagaan ng lahat. Tayo ay panalo. Layunin ng DTI ito.
Ipatupad Price Act 7581, Consumer Act 7394, Product Standards 41.
Dapat tama, dapat tapat mula sa DTI ito.
Protection and promotion of consumer protection. DTI.
Recording